Hello, my name is David Pittard. I'm driving the Aston Martin Vantage GT3 car in the NLS 3 this weekend and also in the Nürburgring 24 hours this year. Please come into the garage and come see my ride. So the Aston Martin is based, well, the Aston Martin GT3 is based on the Aston Martin road car. It's got an aluminium chassis and a 4.0 litre V8 twin turbo engine. As you can see here, this is no standard Aston Martin Vantage. I think when it comes off the production line, the front sub-assembly is effectively cut away. And then if you look right behind all of this carbon fibre ducting in here and the pipes and the exhaust that comes out of the front and then to the side of the car here is actually where the engine is. And if you look to where the driver is, you're almost sat on top of the engine. So that makes the car go from effectively a front engine car to a front mid-engine car, which is all to do with weight distribution. The more you can make the big mass of the engine closer to the middle of the car, the better it is to balance the car effectively in terms of handling. At the moment, this is the splitter that we've got off of the car at the moment. The guys from TF Sport who are running the car are doing the prep work from a very good day's testing, ready for the 4-hour race tomorrow. So yeah, you can see how far back that the splitter actually goes and then leads into the floor of the car as well. And it works very powerfully here. One of the differences here of the NLS car versus a GT World Challenge car, for example, is the aerodynamics. So the cars are actually jacked up higher here at the Nürburgring. One, because of the undulating nature. This is not a Grand Prix circuit, as I'm sure the NLS fan page guys know. That we need it, one, for ground clearance, because yeah, we're literally taking off at Flanskarten. And two, to reduce some of the aerodynamic effect that the splitter and then the underbody and the diffuser that we'll look at a little bit later has on the car. So that's one of the main differences between the GT World Challenge car and an NLS car. The 4-litre V8 twin turbo engine can produce up to 500-600 horsepower, but it's all governed by the regulations of each championship. In the NLS, we actually run quite a low power of the car. I believe it's around 450 to 500 horsepower, whereas in the GT World Challenge and Spa spec, we're up to 500 to 550, for example. So it's funny, when you come out of the pits, having swapped from one spec of car to the other, you put your foot down in NLS and suddenly you feel like there's 100 less horsepower, so you feel like you're really waiting for the car. TF and Aston Martin are using the Michelin tyre, which is different to the Pirelli tyre, which is used in GT World Challenge as well. This is a semi-confidential tyre, so it's almost built for the Aston Martin itself. So the Pirelli is a spec tyre, where you have to build the car around the tyre to make it handle correctly, whereas in this tyre we have some degree to build the tyre to the car effectively. So yeah, I mean, let's have a quick look at it. You can see the front suspension whilst the bonnet is off as well. Double wishbone suspension. This here is the roll bar, running Öhlins suspension as well. Yeah, exhaust running out the side here. And then you can see how much of the ducting at the front here as well. This is all just radiator carbon fibre ducting for the intercoolers. Yeah, each of the radiators, the water, the oil, etc. Yeah, put it this way. If you end up at the wall from here to about here, it's incredibly expensive. You don't want to be thinking about that. So yeah, that's the front of the car. Let's go check out the sides and the back. So yeah, coming to the back of the Vantage, the bit of the car that everyone is going to see at the Nürburgring 24 hours. At the moment we have the diffuser off at the back here. Again, you can see how long it stretches, and it has it's creating a vacuum underneath the car, which then brings the car down to the floor and creates the downforce on the car. You can just about probably see underneath the car, there's the diff radiator at the bottom here as well, which keeps the diff oil cool whilst the car's running, and you can just about start to see the rear suspension and the drive shafts as well. You can see that we've got the air jacks underneath the car as well, so this allows for quick pit stops where we just put in a high pressure air, which pushes these pistons down and then raises the car off the floor for quick tyre changes. At the back here, looking here, we've got the rear view camera, which also has a radar in it as well. So this is transferred over from the GTE car, which is the slowest car in the World Endurance Championship, so you need it when the LMP1s and hypercars and LMP2s comes up, but it's not so critical where we're the fastest car on track here at the Nürburgring. What else here? So the wing itself is, again, there's specific regulations for the NLS, which again reduce the downforce a little bit versus the GT World Challenge, for example. I think, don't quote me on this, but I think it's something to do with the height of the wing, which is slightly lower, which means it's more in the dirty air coming off the back of the car, rather than it being slightly higher, which gives it a cleaner airflow, which will allow it to produce more downforce. So again, it's with the idea of slightly slowing the NLS cars down here. So yeah, I think that's about it. So let's jump inside and have a look at the controls. Okay, now we get to the race driver's office for the weekend. So reasonably tight space to squeeze yourself in and out of, but Aston Martin guys have done a great job to design the roll cage that actually makes it accessible for a quick, easy drive change for anyone driving. So let's try and get in in a dignified way. So normally right foot in, fall into the seat a little bit, and then bring your left leg in, and then we are into the Aston Martin. On the left hand side here we've got the radio and the drink system here, so we're potentially in the car for up to 3 hours, which it gets fairly warm, so that we have the drink system on board that we can keep hydrated. The pit to car radio, so we're constantly in contact with our engineers, with our pit crew, updating us on the race, and we're updating them on any setup changes or things that are going out on the racetrack that we need. FIA safety harness, which just clips in here to stop your hands flying around should you have a shunt or a crash. We've got a 5-point harness that comes across here, and then we've got 2 that come alongside here, which then come into this buckle in the middle here. Air conditioning in these cars is amazing. It makes driving these cars, even in 30-35 degrees heat. I was driving this in Sebring and Daytona at the beginning of the year, and even in those super warm temperatures, it makes it nice and easy to drive, which makes a big difference. Let's pull the wheel off quickly. So this is the wheel itself. It's not really a wheel, but these days, but loads of buttons on there. So radio here on the left hand side to talk to the pits. ASD is just resetting alarms. Flashing button, you need that a few times when you're out on the Nordschleife catching the slow cars. This is just to scroll through some menus. The drinks button, which powers the motor. Neutral button. Full course yellow button that we use for the code 60 and code 120s out on circuit. So depending on the speed, we can just press that and it will catch either a 120 km/h or a 60 km/h speed limiter. This is the start-stop button, so you can make quick getaways. You just press the start button, hands on the wheel, and you're good to go. Alarm button, also just to clear alarms. This is to operate the windscreen wipers, and then the pit speed limiter button for when we come into pits. In here we have a variety of mappings that we can use, fuel saving, safety car or warm-up lap here at the Nordschleife, and then we can again play around with the boost settings as well. As the temperature changes through a 24-hour race, the air density changes, and to meet the requirements of the boost level that are set by the organisers, we have to fine-tune that to make sure that we're always on the optimum level, and then this changes the intensity of the wipers here as well. Not so exciting. On the back here, just 2 paddles, up gear, down a gear, and then we actually have our indicators here should we need it. Useful when you're in the GT car, being the slowest car on track, but when you're in the fastest car, you don't really use them. Coming over to the centre console here, we then have the brake bias that we can change the percentage of brake pressure going to the front axle versus the rear axle. This is key to making sure braking is optimised and the car's handling balance is optimised on the way into corners. Fuel reset button, we have to make that at every pit stop so that we know how much fuel we've used and how much we put in. Air conditioning switches here, wet and dry mode. There's different circumferences from the wet tyre and the dry tyre, so we have to change that for the onboard computer to know how fast we're going and what tyre is on the car. Also for the rain light and the heated screen as well, so they all come on together when you select wet mode effectively to try and keep it simple for us. And that's pretty much it really. moving the mirrors, ABS setting, the master switch here to turn the car on and off, and then an additional start button should we need it for whatever reason. And yeah, that's pretty much everything. The seat is fixed in itself, but then we can actually move the pedal box here forward and back depending on the height of the driver. That keeps, again, the mass of the driver as close to the centre of the car as possible, and then we just change the pedals accordingly to each driver. Up here we have the rear view camera, so this is where you can see out of the back here. This is all to do with pit timing as well. The race logic system makes sure that we nail our minimum pit stop times down to 1/10 of a second. So that is the Aston Martin Vantage GT3 car tour. I hope it was interesting. I hope you learned something. Make sure you stay subscribed to the channel for all of the inside knowledge that the NLS fan page guys are doing. Make sure you tune in for the Nürburgring 24 hours at the end of May. I think it's going to be an epic one.